Good morning guys, how are we all doing? I am Dan from Trading with Dan. This is our Bitcoin morning update. Apologies for the lack of update yesterday. I had no internet connection for most of the day. So apologies for that, but here we are. If you guys wouldn't mind smashing that like button, we shall go straight over to those Bitcoin 4-hour charts. So yeah, not much happening at the moment other than Bitcoin is trying to maintain this support level, maintain the lower end of our wider range. Obviously the longer it holds it, the better. The longer it holds it, the more chance we've got of then turning this around and starting to make a move back upwards, starting to basically try and recover some of this damage, some of this literally just ping-ponging around the wider range. Really, obviously if we lose this, then we are going to be looking at deep into the 52,000s, but in the context of what is happening in the wider markets, maybe not going to be the most likely scenario. But nonetheless, whilst ever we are down at this close to the support level, the important support level, obviously we have a non-zero probability chance of breaking it. It's not like we can say we're more likely to go onwards and upwards to new highs in the immediate time frame, when obviously we are so far away from our previous all-time highs. But yeah, slowly does it though. This is the squeaky bum time. If we can put in this low, if we can make our way nicely back into this $60,000 to $64,000 range, maybe trade sideways a bit like we did previously and then break onwards and upwards, that would be the bullish scenario, I think, here. Obviously the bearish scenario is just pretty clear. I mean, the bearish scenario is we lose this horizontal. Bearish in the medium term, that is, anyway. It's not to say the whole bull run's over. We did look, not yesterday's but the day before, we did look at the the monthly and the bi-weekly charts, and obviously we can come all the way down to here easily, and then turn back up, put in a nice lower high on the higher time frame charts, and then continue onwards and upwards. But yeah, if we do want to, well, firstly we'll look at our Ethereum Satoshi pairing. It is doing its best to recover here, as you can see, right up. Well, I got right up to this horizontal. Obviously got rejected from it in the short term, but if we can get back above here and hold above here, then things will start to look good for this pairing, and obviously by implication good for basically the risk appetite of the crypto market as a whole. We could potentially try and draw in a trend line in here as well. So if we do basically break through this, then yeah, potentially we can expect some acceleration to the upside. Is obviously loosely drawn on here, but realistically I think this horizontal and these areas, I mean, we could actually make this a bit of a range up to here, but we don't really want to start drawing more lines on the chart. But yeah, we can see where it is. We get above here, then we can continue upwards. If we actually look at the USD pairing as well for Ethereum, we have a similar level, which I believe it will be this one, so we can just literally call it 4,400. Get above 4,400, I think confidence will come back into this asset, and we can start to get some nice acceleration to the upside. But obviously that will only realistically happen if Bitcoin is moving up also. So yes, let's have a look. Crypto wise, let's finally look at Bitcoin dominance, then we'll look at some other finance 1.0 assets. But yeah, running into this resistance again on a 4-hour 9, running into this resistance, easing off, but clearly this is constructive. This could very much be a reversal of this, and if we do look at the actual more recent trend, and not obviously this longer time frame trend, we could actually look at this as potentially wanting to turn back up, obviously with a low, a high, a low, a higher low, and then going to try and put in a higher high. Do I think that's what's going to happen? No, but am I just potentially being blinded by my optimism? Potentially. but nonetheless, we just got to look at the levels. If we stay below here, if we stay in this range and ultimately break below, then we will be altcoins will be off to the races. However, if we do manage to break above here, then yeah, things could start to get pretty dicey. Pretty dicey for Bitcoin altcoin pairings. I mean, clearly this could happen with Bitcoin going on a mad one up to 100k, but an altcoin's not been able to keep up. But yeah, we'll actually have to see what happens. So some more bullish factors. Obviously, stocks looking very good here. Looking very good for a push onwards and upwards. Nascoin obviously looking good here as well. Russell easing off a bit. We have obviously got this horizontal, which we will draw in here. I do need to sneeze. Do I need to sneeze again? Maybe. Let's draw in another horizontal. Yes, I did need to sneeze again. Draw in another horizontal, so we can actually then put a nice little rectangle. As long as the Russell holds above here, we'll be looking okay. We will be looking okay. The DXY, in fact, 10-year first, 10-year, still not doing anything wild. Still kind of holding within this range, well below this 1.7 high here. So not really much shocking behavior coming from this at the moment to wobble markets. Obviously, this is potentially what could wobble markets, but are we just within this pattern, just hitting the top, maybe swing failing above and going to come back down? We shall see. Obviously, a lot of this is weakness against the euro. Obviously, this paired predominantly, the euro is the biggest part of the basket that this is paired against. I believe it's about 40%, I think 40 odd percent. But yeah, euro obviously getting whacked because just because of new waves of pandemics in Europe, and just them doing more wild stuff and wild lockdowns and things in various places, which is obviously going to hit the euro because basically Europe for the most part is broke anyway. A lot of the constituent nations of the eurozone. So yeah, euro is basically struggling. And then if we do enter one of those crack up booms, it will be US assets that people will buy, and therefore they will be needing US dollars to buy said US assets. So that would clearly be an upward pressure on the dollar also. So obviously there is rising inflation concerns. I mean, everyone seems to be noticing and worrying about inflation now, so that leads more credence to the infrastructure bill hawks, people that don't want to spend as much on it. So the number is coming down because there are people that are not wanting more inflation. Regardless of what some actual economists saying that all this spending will actually reduce inflation. I mean, it's ludicrous. It is ludicrous. They're just basically telling you the opposite of what is the case. But hey, what can they do? When you are a hammer, everything is a nail, isn't it? But anyway, the dollar is squeezing up, but as we can see, stocks still doing okay. I mean, I know Bitcoin has got hit, but Bitcoin is a wild asset anyway, and a pullback like this is nothing really too untoward. It is the volatility of the asset. I think we're up about 33% in the last month or so anyway. So a pullback of 10+% is just par for the course, really. Also, once we hit sort of like a peak stimulus bill, basically, because that's what they are. They're just stimulus bills. The actual peak levels, and then they were started to come down. That's kind of when Bitcoin started to come down. So obviously we sort of hit the peak inflation narrative. And it's kind of like, can inflation keep continuing upwards like this? That is obviously a big question mark, because there is clearly a case for deflation of asset prices in current environments, of certain asset prices, which could obviously drag inflation down. And there are certain structural factors like people going back to work and things that could bring inflation down, which then I mean, obviously Bitcoin is is the fastest horse in the inflation hedge. So obviously if inflation fears, whilst may still be rising, but at a slower rate of change, then that is at the margins what drives prices. So maybe we just eased off on that, but nonetheless, inflation is still on the upwards march, even if it is not going to be marching upwards at the same pace. So this asset still should be a buy the dip anyway. Yeah, so we look at Bitcoin. I mean, yeah, it's still fundamentally, not necessarily fundamentally for Bitcoin, but just fundamentally so far as inflation hedges in the overall macro environment, it should still just be a buy the dip opportunity, just hitting the lower ends of the ranges basically, with DXY just hitting the upper end of the ranges. Things don't move up in a straight line, so this will have a pullback and ease off, and at which point we can potentially expect things to go to the races. A lot of the energy complex has not really been worried about this move up, so that would indicate that things are definitely bullish for them. So when we do get an ease off, we then can obviously get and push up in the energy complex, which again just feeds through to more inflation, which then just will feed through to inflation hedges. Still outperforming. So yeah, it's all to play for still. It's all to play for. But yeah, I was potentially expecting this dollar to come down. But I mean, I was wrong about that. The euro is clearly weaker. The US seems to be more concerned about inflation, and they're becoming slightly more hawkish. Others, I didn't necessarily predict other central banks to capitulate in the fashion that a lot of them have done. I thought the US would be the one to just be more dovish on the basis it has exorbitant privilege of the world reserve currency, but they obviously have infighting, and then the US is quite sensitive to oil prices because they just had such cheap petrol without as much tax on it as we do in like Europe and the UK certainly. So obviously when oil prices go up, the petrol price goes up quite a bit. More as a percentage. A lot of what we pay for petrol in the UK, petrol and diesel, a large percentage of it is tax. So as the actual oil price goes up, it's not as big a percentage move in the actual price we pay, because we're already paying ridiculous prices, including a lot of tax. So anyway, nothing else really to look at on there. Our stochastics starting to give us a helping hand. 4 hour could get us back above 60k, get us back into that range. It has an upward bias at the moment. 10 hour and 12 hour must be getting pretty deep now, at least looking to turn back up. Yeah, did turn back up, but obviously dived down again, but is now turning back up, so potentially 10 hour can feed through to some more supported price action. 12 hour still diving, but ultimately if these 4 and 10 hour do drag us through, 12 hour will turn up as well. Daily still coming down, 2-day still plenty of room to come down, 3-day plenty of room to come down. 5-day still coming down, weekly turning down from a high level as well, and then bi-weekly and monthly not looking bad. So we do if we are gonna make it, if we are gonna hold this level. I mean, like I said, this is the squeaky bum time. We need these shorter time frame stochastics to help pull the medium time frame to actually get us going, and then ultimately we need to get back above this $64,000 level for us to then the market to start to regain a lot of confidence, because like whilst we are down here, we can clearly be looking for a lower high, and at which point if we turn around we can then potentially get slammed. It will look particularly bearish, and that will probably be the point the bears try and take this bull market by the horns and drag it down at a lower high. So it will be a case of where do we put in a lower high? Do we then get forced down, or can the bulls maintain the upward price pressure and get us back into basically the top half of this range and towards the all-time highs? I suspect they can, but that is just a guess. We shall have to see. I mean, notwithstanding, we are still not in a bad economic environment for risk assets. at the moment. There is that potential for the DXY to come down, even if it is just to put in a lower high, even if it's just to come back down and test this important horizontal here to back test this level, and then push on upwards. But this move down in itself would probably result in a big rally for risk assets, including Bitcoin. So yeah, there we go, guys. Apologies for the lack of video yesterday. Just put very simply, we're just looking to try and hold this level basically, and then make progress back towards the top of the range. And then do we break out the top, or do we get rejected and come back down again? We shall have to see. So yeah, thanks for listening. Remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research, and I shall speak to you guys soon.